Exercise 6.2, question 5. Solve p squared equals negative 4p. Girls, to do this, you need to take everything to the left-hand side, put it equal to 0, and do what we were doing in earlier questions. So, girls, when you solve a quadratic equation, now, to know it's a quadratic, you'll see a squared in there. You do not go dividing both sides by p or anything like that. You never do that. You don't get rid of pronumerals. You never divide by pronumerals. You must take everything over to the left-hand side and put it equal to 0. So p squared equals, take this minus 4p over to the, so plus 4p equals 0. So girls, you have to do this. You do not, you know how you're allowed to divide by numbers and stuff like that? You cannot divide by pronumerals, all right? Because in these equations with quadratics, you'll eliminate and lose answers if you do that. So take everything to the left-hand side, put it equal to 0, and then do what we did yesterday, which is factorize. P bracket, p plus equals 0. Therefore, p is 0 or p plus 4 is 0. Because if p times p plus 4 is 0, then one of them must be 0. Therefore, p is 0 or p is negative 4. So, girls, look, these are the same as yesterday, but the only difference is part of the equation's on the right-hand side. You just have to bring it over. But the thing is, you've got to recognise it as that. You'll recognise it as being a quadratic by seeing the squared term. So, with this one, u squared minus 2u, it's question E. All right, it's H, if you say. So, question 5H. U squared minus 2u equals 8. What do I do with it? Minus 8 equals 0. Girls, this is got the coefficient of the u squared term is 1. So I would go u and u. Now, because you need two numbers that multiply to give negative 8, but add up to give negative 2, one number's got to be positive and one's got to be negative. So you know what I do? I put them both negative first, and then I put a plus in one of them once I've worked out which one it is. All right, look, you can make one of them plus, but when you're playing around, girls, what two numbers multiply? Yeah, well, you've got 4 and 2, but to get them to add up to give negative 2, it's got to be minus 4 plus 2, so I go minus 4 plus 2. So, girls, two numbers that multiply to give negative 8, but add up to give negative 2. So, obviously, it's not going to be 8 and 1. 8 and 1 can only give you 9 or 7 if you combine them anyway. It's got to be 4 and 2. But it's got to be minus 4 and plus 2 add up to give minus 2. So therefore, u minus 4, u plus 2 equals 0. And just check, u squared plus 2u minus 4u minus 8. That gives you minus 2u minus 8. So therefore, u minus 4 is 0. Or u plus 2 is 0. Therefore, u is 4 or u is negative 2. Okay? So, girls, that's... All right. Now, next one. We might have to... You got that, girls? All right, next one. Sorry, you're going to not see that once I move this screen, but you should have that done by now. We're doing n. Girls, what do I do? 5w squared. 5w squared equals 17w plus 12. Move it all over to the left-hand side. So what does it become?
5w squared equals minus 17.
No, yeah.
Minus 12.
So now I go 5w squared minus 17w minus 12 equals 0. Now, girls, what are the factors? We're going to do it like the quiz. Two things that multiply to give 5w squared. Because 5 is it's got to be 5w and w. And then I need, girls, I need two numbers. This one's going to be trickier, but two numbers that multiply to give negative 12. Look, we've got a lot of choices here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do my little crisscross. We've either got 6 and 2, 3 and 4. Girls, I'm going to put, I can already see what it is. If I go 2 and 6, tell me, that's 10 and that's 6, 10w, 6w. That can't give me 17w. I wouldn't worry about negatives or positives. But if I put a 2 and a 6 there, this is the cross method. 5 times 2 is 10. 5w times 2 is 10w, and that's 6w. It can never combine to give you 17. That's wrong. So wouldn't I try 6 and 2 here? That's 30w and 2w. Can that ever give you 17? No. So try 3 and 4. So go 3, go 4. 15W and 4W. Just go across the cross and multiply. 15W and 4W can never give you 17 because 15 and 4 can give you 19 if you add them together or 11 if you subtract. So it's not that. It's 5W with the 4 here and the 3 there. What's that? 20W and 3W. You know you could make that 17, couldn't you? Do you see that you could make that 17? Yes. So you go with that, 5W with a 3 and W with the 4. I'm going to put them both minus first and then I'm going to work out which one's plus. Or you can do it here. If you want minus 17W, it's got to be 5W times minus 4. Does that make sense? And W times plus 3. So it's got to be minus 20W. So what you can do, you can decide here. You can go 5W squared minus 20W plus 3W minus 12. You always check it once you've done it. Do you understand? So that equals 0. Therefore, 5W plus 3 is 0. Or W minus 4 is 0. 5W is negative 3. W is negative 3/5. Or W is 4. Girls, are you okay?
Hold on.
Shh.
Yes. With that step for when you do the cross method, would you do that other method just so we can see? Because I
All right. One sec. Alternative method for doing that. So alternative method. The alternative method, you still need to bring everything over to the left-hand side. Whatever. So alternative method, you still bring everything over to the left-hand side. Then what you do, you multiply the coefficient of the squared term with the constant. And you go 5 times negative 12 is negative 60. And instead of finding the factors of negative 12 like we did there, you have to find the factor. So because that's not a 1, you go 5 times the constant term is negative 60. Then you need the factors of negative 60 that add up to negative 16. No, but it's actually not going to work with 12 and 5 because one of them's got to be negative and one's got to be positive. Because 5 times 12, you've got to, if there's not a 1 in front of the squared term, you've got to do whatever's in front of the squared term times the constant. Girls,
why 16, not 60? You go.
What's 5?
No, she said you accidentally said 16.
Sorry, I meant 60. So 5 times negative 12 is negative 60. I need the factors of negative 60 that add up to negative 16. Now, someone was saying 12 and 5. Sorry. All right. No. I need the factors of negative 60 that add up to negative 17. Okay? So, girls, 12 and 5 won't work because one of them's got to be negative and one's got to be positive. You're going to get 7. It's 20 and 3. And it's negative 20 and positive 3. Okay, so because negative 7, sorry, because one of them's got to be, because the product's got to be, and plus 5 adds up to negative 7, not negative 17. All right, girls, so negative 12 and positive 5 wouldn't work because it adds up to negative 7, not negative 17. So it's got to be negative 20 and plus 3. So what we do, we take the question, 5W squared, and we break up the middle term. Look, I think this is more work, but girls, it's different. Can I just, so we break the minus 17W up into this, minus 20W plus 3W. I break that up into that, and then I go minus 12 equals 0. Now, then you factorise in pairs. So what's a common factor between the first two terms? A 5 and a W, and then you get W minus 4. Then, for the second two, you must have the same thing in the bracket. Okay, so if you've got 5W as a common factor, okay, 5W is a common factor with the first two terms. Then you get 5W bracket W minus 4. You must put the W minus 4 in the second bracket, otherwise it's not going to work. What do I put here now to get the second term? Go plus 3. So it's plus 3w minus 12. So now, therefore, this all factorizes to give me w minus 4 is the common factor, and what's left over? 5w plus 3. Now, notice I got the same thing up there. 5w plus 3w minus 4. Look, if you can do it this way, try. It's quicker. But, you know, if you know your times tables fairly well and can add and subtract, that crisscross method's quicker. So we've got that, which now we just continue with what we did before. Therefore, w minus 4 equals 0, or 5w plus 3 equals 0. In other words, w is 4, or w is, what do? We take the 3 over, negative 3, and then we'll divide by 5. Okay? That's the alternative method. I will do one more of those because I still have to do another exercise today, but it's going to be very quick. It's just a formula. Okay? So, you got that, girls? Remember, this is videoing, so you can look up the video. Let's do that second method with this. We've got 3z squared plus 14. What do I do next? Minus 23z. Now, girls, I don't like the order of that. I want to change the order. What do I normally put in the middle? The z. Minus 23z plus 14. Look, I'm going to do this first. I really wish you would persist with this one, the crisscross. You know why? 3z squared's only got one possibility. What's that? 3z and z. Girls, now, you get your little factors of 14. With this crisscross method, you don't go multiplying anything by anything. You now look for factors of 14. If I go 7, and they've both got to be negative, girls, because, sorry, that's equals 0. Two numbers that multiply to give positive 14 but add up to give negative, sorry, no, it won't add up to give negative 23. You'll need two negatives because you've got positive 14 and the middle terms are negative. So I've got to go negative and negative. Now you've got two choices, 2 and 7 or 14 and 1. I'm going to go 7 and 2. Because before you even do it, if you put the 2 here, you'll get 6. And if you put the 7 there, you'll get 7z. That's not going to give you 23. But if you put the 7 here, you get minus 21. And here you get 2. 21 and 2 is 23. So that's there. 3z minus 2, z minus 7. But what you always do, and what I still do, is check it. So I go 3z squared minus 21z minus 2z, that is minus 23z, that's all good, plus 14, that's correct. So then we've got 3z minus 2 equals 0, or z minus 7 equals 0, which means that z is what? 3z is 2, so it'll be 2 over 3. Yeah, I'll do the other method, or z is 7. Second method. 3z squared minus 23z plus 14 equals 0. See, girls, I'll tell you why I don't like the second method. You have to do 3 times 14. The factors of 42. Good luck.
7 and 6.
All right. And then, but it might not work. I don't think it does. All right, so we go 3 times 14. This is second method. Or 3 times 14 is 42. I need the factors of 42 that add up to negative 23. Now, people are saying 6 and 7.
21 and negative 2.
6 and 7 don't work. You know what you do then? You double one and halve the other, maybe. That's not going to work. 14 and 3 does not give you negative 20. 21 and 2.
Negative 1 and negative. Negative 21 and negative 2.
Negative 21 and negative 2. Girls, I sometimes think this method, because you're doing that number times a big number, you're going to end up with a bigger problem than what you started with. Now, so we've got negative 21 and negative 2. Shh. So, excuse me? So we've got 3z squared. We don't write minus 23z. We break it up into minus 21z minus 2z plus 14 equals 0. We find common factors. Z minus 7. Second bracket must be z minus 7. It has to be, otherwise there's no point doing the method. What do I do now? Minus 2. Because I get minus 2z plus 14. So I've got z minus 7, just be careful with the z's, 3z minus 2. So therefore, z minus 7 is 0, or 3z minus 2 is 0, which means z is 7, or z is 2 over 3. Now that's the other method. Now, if you don't like either of those methods, there's the formula. Exercise 6.4 quadratic formula. If you can't solve a quadratic equation, you can use the quadratic formula. So to solve a quadratic equation of the form, so to solve a quadratic equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, we can use the quadratic formula, which is, who knows it? X equals, come on,
Negative,
anyone?
negative b plus minus the square root.
No, I'm just saying who knows it.
Negative b.
Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a.
I was close.
We're going to solve this first equation using the quadratic formula. So solve 3x squared plus 7x minus 2 equals 0 using the quadratic formula. Look, I'm going to try it with crisscross, but you're going to see that you can't get a solution. So let's say you're trying crisscross or something else and you don't get a solution. You stop and you use the quadratic formula. So let's say I did decide to use crisscross. 3x squared would be 3x and x. Girls, factors of 2. I've only got 2 and 1 or 1 and 2. Let's say I put a 2 and a 1 and you're going to think, Miss, yeah, that's it. But girls, if I want a negative 2, doesn't one of them have to be negative and one has to be positive? Let's say I make this one positive and that one negative. It doesn't matter which way I go, I can't solve that. That gives me 6x minus 1x is 5x. If I put the negative 2 there and the positive 1 there, I'll get minus 6x plus 1x, negative 5x. It can't be solved. You cannot solve it.
Even with the sign.
Look, 1, no, it won't solve. It can't be solved. It can't be solved. The reason it can't be solved, the answer is not a whole number. The answers are not whole numbers. Let's say I put 1 and 2 here. I'd get 3 and 2 is 5. And one of them's got to be negative. So that's got no solution. No solution with crisscross. No solution with the other method. Right. No. So to solve a quadratic equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. What do you think a is, girls? Isn't it the number in front of the?
3.
A is the number in front of the x squared. What's b?
The one in front of the x.
Which is 7, and c is negative 2. Because it's the constant, because it's ax squared plus bx plus c. Well, plus c, but I've got minus 2. C is minus 2. So therefore, x equals negative b. Let's write the formula out. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Now, girls, this is going to get a little bit tricky towards the bottom. So we've got negative b. What do I write? What do I write?
Negative 7.
Plus or minus. Now, girls, what's 7 squared?
49.
Can I just write 49 or do I need, all right, I'll write 7 squared minus 4 times, what's A?
3.
What's C? Negative 2 over 2 times, it's just substituting into a formula. What's A?
2 times 3.
A is positive 3. So it's negative 7 plus or minus the square root of, what's 7 squared?
49.
Now, then we go minus 4 times 3 times negative 2. See how you got 2 minuses? It's going to end up being a plus. I don't mind if you go on your calculator. 7 squared, do not do the square root, please, on your calculator. Just work out the bit under the square root on your calculator if you want, but I never do. I just do it in my head. That's 49 minus 4 times 3 times negative 2, which is minus negative 24, which is plus 24. But girls, you can do that on your calculator. You can go 7 squared, and instead of going 7x squared, but you know 7 squared is 49. So just go 49 minus 4 times 3 times negative 2, But look, 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times negative 2 is negative 24. It's 49 plus 24. I tend to do them in my head, which is negative 7 plus or minus the square root of
72 over 6. What means that's
73 over 6. So, girls, I've got two answers. So I've got negative 7 plus, sorry, that's a square root, plus square root of 73 on 6, or I've got negative 7 minus. Girls, can we just stop for a sec? So I've got two answers here. Negative 7 plus or minus root 73 over 6 means I've got two answers, the top road and the bottom road. Negative 7 plus root 73 over 6 or negative 7 minus root 73 on 6. Now, you can, in year 11 and 12, we leave it like that, but in year 10, they ask you for two decimal places. So can you go negative 7 plus root 70? 0.26, that one's...
Is negative 2.5.
Can I just have that?
They're both in 2dB.
Yeah. And I'll just see what they got.
yeah, this is fine. This is fine.
Wait.
Yeah, it's fine.
Wait, they got something different.
No, miss, I got like 3 points. Wait.
Girls, can you make sure you do the top row and then divide by 6 or put it in brackets? You either put... Oh, okay, good. Girls, got to make sure you do all of the top row and then divide by 6. You do not press negative 7 plus root 73 divide by 6. You get the wrong answer. It's all of the top row. Shh. Girls, you either go negative 7 plus root 73 equals and then divide by 6. Otherwise, you're just going to divide the square root of 73 by 6. Next questions. Girls, I'm doing another question. You ready? All right. I'll just do another. Girls, I need to do a few more. I know. Shh. I need to do this one. X squared plus 8x minus 4. Because I need to go through it.
What's the question?
Was it x squared?
X squared plus 8x minus 4 equals 0.
All right, girls. What the? I don't know what that is. Solve this using quadratic formula. Girls, listen. Just stop. Shh. If you try to do this like that, could you find the factors of negative 4 that add up to 8? Do 4 and 1 add up to 8? Or 2 and 2? No. So girls, this is a really good example of when you have to use quadratic formula. Because if you go 4 and 1 or 2 and 2, it'll never work, no matter whether they're positive or negative. It doesn't matter. So no, the other method won't work either.
Can we use the quadratic formula?
It'll always work.
Always. So even ever do anything.
Shh, girls, yes, you need, because there are quicker methods. Like if I asked you to solve x squared plus 5x plus 6, I would not use the quadratic formula. That's just, no you wouldn't, that's x plus 3x plus 2. It's quicker. Girls, listen, in year 11 and 12, if you can't find two numbers that multiply to give 6 and add up to give 5, and you decide you're going to use the quadratic formula every time, you are going to waste a lot of time in your papers. And I'm sure you know some times tables, girls. So if this is too hard, girls, so with this, x is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac on 2a. Now, in year 10, we'll tell you which one to use. We will say solve this using the quadratic formula. If you aren't asked to use it, I mean you could, but if we're asking you to factorise something, it should be fairly easy to factorise. Okay, girls, over the side you might want to write down what a is. What's a?
0.
No, it's not.
It's 1.
What's b?
8.
Be careful, girls, sometimes the b can be negative and c is negative 4. So let's go. Negative 8 plus or minus the square root of. What's b squared?
64.
Yeah, 8 squared or 64 minus 4 times 1 times negative 4 over 2 times 1. So what's that?
64 minus 16.
64 plus 16.
Yeah, 64 plus 16.
Be careful, you've got minus 4 times another negative. Minus, minus. If you see minus, minus there twice, it's plus. If you see it 3 times, it's a minus. A minus times a minus times a minus is a minus. A minus times a minus is a plus. So it's 6.
Oh, geez.
8 plus or minus the square root of, what's that? 80 over 2. Now, girls, got to go back to surds now. Do you remember surds?
Yes.
Okay, I need 2 numbers that multiply to give 80,
16
and one of them has to be a squared number. Now, I'm writing my squared numbers down. 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25, etc. Girls, I know 4 goes into that, 4 times 20, but 4 is not my smallest square number. If 4 goes in, if it's 4 times 20, and 20 is actually 4 times 5, then 16 goes in there.
Yeah.
So it's the square root of 16 times 5 over 2. Girls, you need to watch this. It's negative 8 plus or minus. What's the square root of 16?
4.
So you do them separately. The square root of 16 is 4. Yes, if I ask you this, no, you have to do it this way. So you need to simplify the surds. Negative 8 plus or minus square root of 80 is the same as negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 16 times 5, or the square root of 16 times the square root of 5. You can put them both like that. Over 2. Now stop. Stop. Each of these numbers is over 2. Can you see that? So, girls, you know how you've got a fraction and it's over 2? Both of them are over 2. Can you see what I've done? So, it's negative 4 plus or minus. What happens with that 4 and 2? What's 4 over 2? 2 on top. Plus or minus what? 2 root 5. Because, girls, the 2 and the 4 are both whole numbers. You can cancel with them. 4 over 2 is 2. So I've got negative 4 plus or minus 2 root 5. I'm not finished. Which is, sorry girls, wait, let me just write here. So I've got negative 8 over 2 plus or minus 4 root 5 over 2. I'm just rewriting it here because you can't see it. Which is negative 4 plus or minus 2 root 5. So my 2 answers are, so you couldn't see that, negative 4 plus 2 root 5 or negative 4 minus 2 root 5. I need you to understand how to do this for next year. Now, if you want, you can work it out on your calc. I know you were saying you want to work it out on your calc from there, but
Textbook just says negative 4 plus minus 2.5.
yeah, girls, but if the surd can be simplified, you have to often leave it in exact form. I might say in exact form. Means it's not a rounded decimal. Wait. Your homework is, do you want me to do a few more examples tonight on video? I think I will. Year 10 text, question 1 C and L, 2 C and I, 3 C I, 4 C I O.
What am I meant to do for this?